Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Osa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams, and today I'm the founder and principal of Osa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment. In today's episode of The Power of Design, I'm talking to Jessica Mann-Amato. Jessica is an interior designer and principal at Mancini Duffy in New York. With over 20 years of experience in workplace strategy, space planning, and interior design, Jessica brings her team and clients together to materialize a vision infused with creativity, energy, and collaboration. This is my conversation with Jessica. Hey Jessica, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Jack.
You have a beautiful view behind you. What is that?
It's New York City.
Nice.
Yeah, we can see the Freedom Tower behind us.
That's amazing. Jessica, you are an interior designer working in New York, working with very nice projects. I have gotten to know your partner, and I've seen a lot of your projects following you in social media, very impressive work. What do you think is the most important skill a person should have to work at that level?
I really think it is the ability to listen and really listen, to tune out all of the noise in your head and to really just focus on what your clients and what your teammates are saying so that you're not jumping to any conclusions. You're not solving a problem before you've listened to what the potential problem might be. You're really just focusing and listening. And as part of that, I think the other thing is being able to read a room because there's so much about watching people's expressions as they're talking and how they're reacting to what you're saying that gives you even more insight into what they're telling you.
Yeah, I think the reading a room is an important one because sometimes, I've been in situations where there is a group of people and there's usually a leader, could be the decision maker, and some everybody's waiting for that person to give their opinion, and then everybody is just backing up that option.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so true. It's so important to look at everyone in the room and see how they're reacting.
Yeah, and that's important because sometimes we can just spend a lot of time dealing with people that unfortunately they're not decision makers.
Absolutely.
So, you do all this work, you try to do all these things. When it gets to the decision maker, the real decisions happen, and you were not part of that, and that's a problem.
Yes, so true.
Yeah. And also listening. I think is one of those skills that it seems very simple, but it's so hard because we are in a profession that is very solutions oriented. We want to help our clients. We want to make things happen. We're going to keep making progress on the project. And sometimes that excitement makes us just go ahead and start solving something without really understanding what the problem is.
Yes, so true. And I think the other part of that is making sure that we are understanding and digesting what we're hearing. I will often ask someone to clarify exactly what they mean by a statement because sometimes you hear things a little bit differently than it's intended. So I think just being very keyed into what specifically they're trying to say with what they're saying as well.
Yeah, I remember being in a lecture years ago. It was a architect from Portugal. I forgot his name, but he was very focused on in any project before starting to formulate a solution, understanding what is the problem we're solving, and that space of problem definition is so critical because sometimes the client they don't even know what the problem is. Sometimes they come with the solution. They say, I need a space, I need this, I need that, but do you really need that? I think that part of formulating the solution, which I think if you think like a doctor, it might be the diagnostic, is critical because you want to provide a solution to a real problem.
So true. There are many times in my career that I've almost felt like a therapist,
Yeah.
really digging into someone's emotions and their wishes and their vision. Sometimes you have to drag information out of people and ask it, 5 different ways to get to what you're really trying to understand from them. So I think it's the type of career where you're really intimately involved with
Yeah.
your clients.
Yeah, and have good emotional and relational skills to connect with a client when there are other ways that are better, but they haven't thought about it. You can't just come across telling them, you're not right about yourself.
Exactly.
How do you really help them understand that I'm on your side? This is your
Exactly.
goal. There are different ways to achieve that goal.
Yes, so true. And I'm sure that you experience this all the time too. We find that often when our clients are integral team members with our team and they're going through our whole process really closely with us, we get them to buy into our thoughts and our design thinking and our decision making process. That really kind of helps the final product be so much better because everyone is bought into it, including the client.
Yeah. Jessica, tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Florida, in northern Florida, and I've been in New York for 21 years. So I sort of consider myself a New Yorker now. My husband, who's a native New Yorker, would disagree, but I feel like I have the right to call myself a
You
New
do.
Yorker after being here
You
so
do.
long.
So, is that where you went to school?
So I went to school at Ringling School of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida. And I looked at many different schools, and I chose Ringling specifically because I thought they had a really tough curriculum. And I thought that I would just get to experience a lot more in my education. So, for instance, I went to a lot of schools that you only did 2 to 3 studio classes a semester. In Ringling, we had to do 5 every semester. So, I really felt like I got a very well rounded education in that regard from the types of projects and the number of projects that we had to complete each semester.
Yeah, that's interesting because typically I hear, and I think in general worldwide, that architecture education sometimes leaves big holes that are important for the profession. Like understanding constructability a little bit deeper. Operations, finances, everything that you need to really understand the practice of architecture. And sometimes it's very focused on the front end design, which is an important part, but it's also missing a lot of the other aspects that are important.
Yes, so true. We experience that all the time with people that we're hiring right out of school or, people with a few years experience. I do feel like I was very lucky at Ringling. It's an intense education with 4 years dedicated to interior design. So I didn't have to take any undergraduate classes. And so I feel like that paired with the number of studio classes and then also the types of classes that they had us take, professional development classes, construction documentation classes. So I feel like they tried really hard to have you understand a bit better what your life would be like post school and the types of things you would be doing and how a firm functions.
How was your first job?
My first job was amazing. I actually went to Herman Miller, the furniture manufacturer, for my first job. I took an internship at Herman Miller my senior year of school and in the New York office, which is how I made the jump from Florida to New York. And it was really great because I had the ability to meet so many different people within our industry as a graduate. I think that a lot of times when people go directly to a firm, you're sort of meeting and interacting with the people directly in your firm, but you're
Yeah.
not at that age and at that time in your career interacting with your whole industry. I
Yeah.
was meeting people at every single firm in New York. I was involved in IIDA. And I got a great foundation in understanding furniture. how furniture is designed, how it's specified, the intricacies of all of that. And I feel like that's helped me a lot throughout my career, because a lot of designers don't fully understand how to specify furniture properly. And so that's
Yep.
come in really handy, especially on very high end projects where I'm creating custom furniture solutions for them.
That's very helpful, and yeah, you were very lucky because most people, we start just doing construction documents. You're not really talking to a lot of people, and I really feel I'm always very impressed by the furniture industry, how well organized is, implementation of technology, how integral are they are to developing key relationships with everybody,
Absolutely.
with the contractors, interior designers, architects, end users, brokers. You get exposed to a broader range of people that are creating the built environment.
Yes, they are amazing at that. They're almost like relationship brokers. They put
Hmm.
everyone together, put the pieces together. It was a great experience. And I think that, in addition to that, I was able to help them. I was young and coming out of school, and I had the ability to do great renderings. And so I would help them in pursuits that they were going after to do space planning and create renderings for solutions that we were proposing for clients. So I think it was a mutually beneficial relationship, and me helping them to kind of develop that part of the company that they weren't doing yet, and for me to get this amazing education.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm always very impressed how furniture dealers, people that have relationships in the community, by how they engage with the end users. Because what I realize is that when you're in the design world, we think about design, we understand what is an architect, what is an interior designer, an engineer. For a person in a whole different industry, they think about, let's say, office. They call the office dealer the
Mhm.
furniture dealer. They don't think, oh, I need a permit, I need an engineer. They just whatever is closest to them, and sometimes they start that relationship there. And many times they're the ones recommending design partners, contractors, helping assemble the whole team together.
It's very true. At a young age, I was meeting with CEOs of companies and proposing furniture solutions for them. It was really an amazing experience, everyone that I got introduced to and got to interact with.
Nice. When did you transition to a more traditional interior designer role?
So that was about 2 years, and then I started working for Conant Architects. Peter Conant, who had a long history with Swanky Hayden Connell and then started his own firm. It was a 12-person firm, and we worked on a lot of big accounts like Citigroup. I did a ton of work with Citigroup. And that was an amazing education as well, because it was such a small firm and we all just got kind of thrown into the fire, and you either sink or swim. And Peter was an amazing mentor. So he would throw you in, and there's a lot you had to learn on your own, but he would also spend hours of time sitting and explaining things to you, why we made these decisions and how things worked the way that they did. So he was great. He really helped me to understand the specifics of interior detailing, understand the components of putting together a really good construction document set. So I'm forever grateful to him. I think he was an absolutely amazing mentor.
That's awesome. So were you working on mainly workplace projects, or what type?
Yes, almost all workplace projects, a lot of big scale projects. For Citigroup, at a very young age, I did an 8 floor restack on a tower, and I was the main designer on it.
Wow.
4 years out of school. So yeah, when I say throw you in the fire, it really happened that
The real
way.
fire.
Yes. I met an amazing woman there on the client side who had worked her way up through a very male dominated industry. And she was an extremely tough woman to work with, but I learned a lot from her about the dynamics of that professional relationship between architect, designer, and client. So that was fun to get to experience that at such a young age. And then we also had a lot of smaller scale workplace projects as well. So it was very well rounded, and getting to work with a bunch of market sectors and deal with a bunch of different design concepts for different types of solutions.
Interesting. How did you end up to where you are today?
So I worked a few other places after that. I went to Farnsall and Simon. I learned a lot more about detailing, interior detailing from Stephen Farnsall, who is an amazing technical architect. After that, I went to Spectre Group, and at that point, I had really worked up to a intermediate to senior designer position. And at Spectre Group, it was a fairly small firm. I think I was the 18th employee at that point, in the New York City office. They had a New York City office and a Long Island office. And I've really got to work on just some amazing projects with clients who are very dear friends and still clients to this day. Um, so I got a well-rounded experience into many different types of, from technology to financial services, different types of clients and different types of design. Then I worked there for 4.5 years, took a little break, went to HLW, um, got to work on some amazing projects for Google at HLW. I was handed one of the biggest projects for Google that they had ever worked on. And they have a massive account with Google. They do a lot of their work. And so that was really great, from a different perspective of, it's creative, but it's creative to the next level. You're just exploring all kinds of crazy ideas until that one idea sticks that
Yeah.
is crazy enough for them to get super interested in and explore. They're very into design thinking and looking for something just completely different than anyone else has done. So that was a great experience doing that huge project for them. And then Spectre Group asked me to come back, and I went back to Spectre Group, worked my way up to design director, and was really leading the interiors practice there. Again, worked on some amazing clients, but I was looking for um, a couple of things that led me to Mancini Duffy. I was looking to push technology a lot more. I've always been a huge advocate of technology, and I wanted to utilize it to a much fuller extent than we were utilizing it. And I wanted to move to the next level of being a principal and a shareholder in a firm. I always had this idea that it would be great to have a group of like-minded people that owned a firm together and could really invest, the last 20 years or so of their career in growing an amazing firm of younger like-minded people. So Christian and I actually worked together at Conant Architects very early in both of our
Oh, wow.
careers for a very short time. That's how we met. And I've known Christian and his wife Nina for a very long time. My husband Lance also worked at Conant Architects and knows them very well. So we're all very connected. It's amazing in New York, the 6 degrees of separation that happen. So Christian, was reaching out to me for quite a while. I finally came in and checked out the firm, and I was just sold immediately. I love everything that we're doing here. I love the united front that the leadership forms. I love how it's very entrepreneurial and we develop people from within. So it was exactly what I was looking for, and could not say no. So I joined a little bit over 2 years ago. As a principal, I am now a shareholder in the firm. So there's 5 of us shareholders. And like I was just explaining it really is exactly what I was looking for. And it's a great firm to, I think, continue to develop the ideas of where you want your career to go, for each of us on the partnership team in general, because we all have very unique ideas of things that we would like to develop, as well as for everyone who works here. We like crazy ideas. We like to, throw them at a wall and see what sticks, and then let's explore that. Let's put some money towards it. Let's do some R&D and see, where we can take this crazy idea and if it has legs. So
That's awesome.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
How's a typical day for you? What kind of things you do?
A lot of my day is meeting with clients. I meet with my teams quite often. So I really lead the interiors for the firm. So I am in charge of some major client relationships. I am in charge of kind of steering the overall design vision for all of the interiors projects, and then working with the teams to ensure that that vision is coming to life and that I'm mentoring them to provide them with any support that they need in order to be able to achieve that vision for each of our clients. So a lot of meetings and collaborative sessions and a lot of really involved kind of teamwork to get to that final goal.
What do you think makes you good at what you do?
I think it goes back to the listening. I
Yeah,
think that,
important.
yeah, I think I try very hard to make sure that everyone on the team has a voice. I think that that's something I did not experience as much in the in some of the places that I have worked, and it's always been one of my personal goals that wherever I was a leader, I would ensure that we're able to make sure everyone has a voice, everyone is an integral part of the team. And I really believe in kind of cultivating that teamwork atmosphere so that everyone feels like they're bought into the project, they feel excited and responsible for the project. And I think ultimately it just creates a much better project at the end of the day. So I try to cultivate that. And like I said, it all really kind of goes back to listening.
And what do you think is your biggest challenge today?
Well, it sounds a little cliche because I feel like we've all been talking about it for so long, but the pandemic has been a challenge.
Yeah,
Um, I think that we are uniquely set up to be able to come out of the pandemic well. We already had a great work from home policy because of our technology. We were able to transition really well through the whole pandemic to a work from home model. Um, but I think right now it's helping clients to understand how to evolve into that hybrid work model.
yeah,
We're doing it not only for ourselves, but we're also helping clients every single day. And um, it's sort of like we all need a crystal ball, right? Because what's great for today might not be great for 2 years from now. So we're really challenging ourselves and our clients to try to figure out what the most flexible design solution is for them so that it will be able to withstand whatever the next 5 years has in store for all of us.
yeah. Today you see articles every day, and everybody's coming up with their take on the future of workplace and how COVID is changing or not changing workplace. Well, what's your take on that conversation?
I think it's definitely changed the workplace. I think that there are some trends that started pre-COVID, the trend towards more agile working, that I think it's just kind of propelled those things into the foreground. I also think that it has changed our mentality about what's acceptable. I think I've worked in places that were great about work from home policies and other places that were horrible about work from home policies, but this has proven to all of us that we can do it.
Yeah,
Some do it more successfully than others, but I think that, knowing that we can do it, there's kind of no turning back to having office policies that don't include it. So I think it's opened up our minds to embracing that and then finding really the best rhythm for how we're going to work, knowing that we're going to be doing that moving forward. And also, I think it's become a great recruitment and retention tool. So, we're all experiencing this, and I'm sure you've heard it as well. People are looking for jobs that they can do 100% remotely. So, really opening up our minds to what the new way of working is and how we're adapting to it.
Yeah, I think that conversation that has been going on for years about work and life balance got really blended and blurred. When people started spending a lot more time at home, they start realizing, oh, I don't really have to be there, 40 hours a week to produce my work, to be efficient. I can also still, be with my family, enjoy, be at a different place. And I think the younger generation, that's their base level. That's what they want because they know it's possible. For older generations, it's like, oh my God, I've been missing all this. Why? Yeah, I could have done this years ago. And I think, part of the evolution is going to be, as you said, one, flexibility. Some people want to be there 40 hours. That's fine. Some people 20, some people 10. But definitely the changing, corporate policies to give those options, because
Yes.
whoever wants to keep bringing people to the office 40 hours a week, they might lose a lot of talent because they can find, a workplace that it's more aligned with their vision of what their life should be.
Yes, exactly. I think that there's a couple of things that we've all seen happen because of this, right? The global talent pool is now available to us, right? Because if we're really embracing this, then we don't have to have employees that are based locally. We can have talent anywhere. And the other thing that has happened is that I think that there is sort of a general acceptance of how people want to work now, and understanding that some people might be more nomadic. So if you're able to work from home, it really doesn't matter where you are. You could be on vacation somewhere and still working. So that nomadic work style, I think, has really come to the forefront as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, and then overlaying technology, when we start understanding much better, like, utilization of space and, many things we've been doing for years, that, like conference rooms, they're the most underutilized space. It's just some hours a day. And is that investment, financially smart or not? Now we're rethinking a lot of things. And then, same with, like parking spaces, or, when we get driverless cars,
Mhm.
now the car is going to be utilized 100%. What are we going to do with all those parking spaces, parking decks? I think the same thing is going to happen to workplace when we start really maximizing the efficiency on the use of a space.
Yes, yes, I absolutely agree. I've seen some studies for how we're rethinking parking garages and parking lots. It's really interesting, some of the proposals that I've seen, specific to New York, but it's starting to happen everywhere. And it really is sort of this unthought. It has been sort of this unthought of possibility, but there's so much real estate that will be opening up. I feel like,
Yeah.
in the next 10, 15, 20 years, just spaces that we don't necessarily need anymore because of the way we're working now.
Yeah, I think part of the solution is gonna be co-working mixed with
Mhm.
corporate facilities, because I think co-working is one of those things that we had the tools but we didn't do it before, and now we're like, oh my God, this thing works. You're a lot more efficient. The pricing levels are very flexible. There is a lot of energy when you have many different businesses at the same stage growing and sharing with each other. And I will think that if I'm a giant corporation with millions of square feet available, if I'm not using a floor, I could easily say, hey, I'm going to support my community. I'm going to open this up for an incubator, co-working for small businesses, something like that.
Exactly.
But those things are not very popular today,
No,
but
but I
I will
agree.
think that that's going to be a big part of the change of how we use space is going to show up in the marketplace.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, we've been talking to a lot of our clients about creating customer experience centers, incubation spaces, collaboration centers for their employees, and just rethinking how they're utilizing their real estate so they're utilizing it a lot smarter. And also, just as you said, a lot of these companies that have a ton of real estate who aren't necessarily giving up some of it because they don't know what the future will hold for them in 5 or 10 years, but rethinking how they're utilizing the space that they're not using for typical workspace anymore.
Yeah. Have you seen any innovation in the furniture world? And I'm talking about, more than sit to stand desk, or having some mobility here and there. I think, to me, it seems that the basic setup is still, a chair and a table.
Hmm.
It's just nicer finishes.
Hmm.
Have you seen anything that catch your attention?
Not necessarily, changing how we're actually utilizing the furniture itself, but I think that every major furniture manufacturer has been investing in technology, technology to help plan space, technology to purchase product. So it's really interesting. I think just the changes that I've seen in the last 5 years, even building up to the last two, and then I think the pandemic sort of kicked that into high gear, and each one of them has much more technology now than they did before because they were sort of forced to. We couldn't go to showrooms anymore, so how are we experiencing the product? How are we interacting with the product? So there's been a lot of great fly throughs of virtual showrooms and virtually disassembling and reconnecting furniture to show us how it works. And I love seeing that they've really embrace the technology much more to be able to educate about the product. I think that they were a bit behind in that regard for many, many years, and that it's a good thing that the pandemic kind of kicked that into high gear for all of them.
Yeah. What advice would you give a young interior designer that's excited about their career and wanting to make progress, and they have big dreams?
Number one, stay positive.
Yeah. Listen.
Listen. I think starting out, it can be a bit overwhelming. It can be intense, everything that you're doing, the demands kind of placed on you. I think that transition from school to the real world, I've seen it so many times, as I know you have, where sometimes there's a light in their eyes that just goes off and they're like, wow, this is amazing. And other times they're like, this is not at all what I thought this
Yeah.
was going to be. So I think, stay positive, listen to everything that your mentors and your bosses are telling you, your teammates are telling you, absorb every little bit of information that you possibly can, directly in conversation and indirectly with what you're overhearing. Um, stay creative, look for creative outlets and continue to develop those because you never know where your inspiration is going to come from. It can come from the most random places or the most random ideas, and get involved in your community. I was president of IIDA New York from 2009 to 2010. I met so many amazing people, and I got to understand, not only how you help run a massive organization, but also a lot of the interpersonal communication and political aspects of, planning 53 events a year and having to deal with all of these committee co-chairs and committee members and working with our partners who gave us a lot of money to put on all of these events. Um, I think that the more you can kind of get involved and give back to your community, it's just a great way to gain an education and also to meet the other people
Yeah.
within your community and form your tribe that you will literally lean on your entire career.
Yeah, I think that's very important to just connect with others. Sometimes we focus too much on the craft itself, which is exciting and fun, but the relationship piece is huge. All
Yes.
those people that you meet, forming that tribe with people that are aligned with, with your thinking, with your ideas, and you never know where those connections are gonna take you.
Yes, so true. I think the other thing I would say is pick up the phone and make an actual phone call.
Yeah.
Don't just email or text.
Yes.
It's something I noticed with my 5-year-old daughter that I think this generation and future generations that will almost become a lost art form because there's so many different apps and different ways to communicate through technology that an actual conversation feels a little bit strange to
Yeah.
them. But there's so much more that you can learn from listening to someone and being able to explain something where things aren't getting lost in translation over email. And I think that's so important. So pick up the phone and make a phone call and have an in person meeting when you can.
Yeah, sometimes I'm even guilty of that one. I'm like, no, I should just pick up the phone and do it.
So true. And sometimes I look at the amount of time that is spent, communicating over email when it might have been a 5-minute phone call,
I
but it's
know.
10 emails.
Yeah. What do you think is the best picture of your future self in 5, 10 years? How do you see yourself?
Oh my goodness. I think the pandemic changed my perspective on that a little bit. Um, but I think it's really being a design leader. I used to feel like that the majority of it was helping to grow and develop our internal team, and that is still a huge part of it. But there's been so many connections that I've made throughout the pandemic. I think because all of a sudden we all realize that it's very easy to get on a Zoom call and talk to someone who's farther away. And I've made some amazing connections that I think now, I'd love to spread my voice to help mentor on a much broader scale. So looking at ways to, um, give my voice to help young designers or help children from underprivileged areas or within the K through 12 school system, even just to understand what your options are um, as a professional, and to understand how to pursue those dreams. I didn't have any of that when I was young. I never had an interior designer or an architect come speak at my school. Um, I didn't have sort of that role model to look up to in that regard. And so I think educating them about the creative professions and what their options are and that is something that I'm very interested in doing more of. And I would love to investigate that much more how my future career can lead in that direction.
Well, I think the good thing is you have clear where your heart is, and
Mhm.
now it's just a matter of materializing what are the vehicles to make that happen. And I think you have the time and the platform to do it.
Yes, yeah, I think it'd be amazing. It is interesting though how this pandemic has changed a lot about our world and the way that we think about things so differently in many different regards of our lives.
Yeah,
Um,
I think one of the things we're starting to realize is, seeing space different. I think in ways to, when you have a work from home situation, how do you set up that space that's still your home, but you're still proficient on what you're doing, and you're still
mhm.
gonna need privacy. You're gonna need a focus space. You may need to collaborate, and it seems that the homes are becoming a little bit more like an office, but we're trying to make the offices look more like our homes. So we're
So
always
true.
trying to blur that separation we've been having for years between work and work life balance.
Yes, so true.
Yeah.
I think it was probably hard for all of us to adapt to that in the beginning. I know definitely for me, when you're adapting from all these in-person meetings to Zoom meetings all the time, it was hard. But then once we all got in our rhythm, it just really open up so many doors. And I think you're right. There is a need now for our offices to feel like our homes, to feel very cozy, to really entice us to want to come into the office, to provide the right collaboration tools so that we can effectively collaborate and to make the most out of that in person time that we get with our teammates. And simultaneously, there really is also a need to continue to be able to work from home, to have that better work-life balance, and to be able to work effectively in our homes. A lot of times on more sort of focus type work. So it's great to see, I think, all of these things continuing and evolving as we continue to come out of this pandemic and push towards the future.
Yeah. My last question, how does the power of design impact who you are and what you do?
I think for me, the power of design is really related to the way that we interact with our clients. So we have a software called Toolbelt that allows us to immerse our clients into the design process from start to finish, literally from first test fit all the way through um, design development and through CDs. And then our kind of ultimate goal is we're not printing anything anymore, and everything is done within this immersive environment. I think for me, it's really utilizing that power to be able to immerse them into the environment, to sell our designs, to educate them about the designs, to get them on board as an integral team member, and then also to educate our internal team members better, because we have such capability to see things that maybe we weren't diving into enough prior to having this capability with our software. So it's really about, I think, being able to narrow down, inspire, and educate more in all facets of what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate the conversation. I learned a lot, and I'm very excited to see what you're going to do in the next 10, 20 years.
Thank you, Jack. It was so nice talking to you.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content. And find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.